The child cries in the middle of the night. You wake up, and you are not alone. The whole group wakes up at the same time. This is the first, and perhaps the greatest, difference between how you are raising your child today and how your ancestors did it 50,000 years ago. The child does not belong solely to you. It belongs to the group. Discard every image you've ever seen in movies about primitive life, the aggressive father holding a club, the mother hunched over a fire, the child sitting silently alone in a dark corner of a cave. That image is fundamentally wrong. The truth is more complex, warmer, and actually closer to you than you might think, even if it took place in a completely different world. The evolution of alloparents. Let's start from the moment a child is born. In a typical hunter-gatherer band, usually consisting of about 20 to 40 people, the birth of a child is a community event, not just one for its parents. Anthropologist Sarah Blaffer Hrdy, in her acclaimed book Mothers and Others, proposed a controversial theory that is now supported by abundant cross-cultural evidence. Humans are the only great apes that practice communal child-rearing. This means that not only the parents, but also other group members, especially grandmothers, aunts, and older siblings, actively participate in raising a child. Hrdy calls these caregivers alloparents, co-parents, other parents, arguing that this was one of the crucial evolutionary factors that helped our species survive and thrive. The reasoning is highly pragmatic. A human baby, as we know, is born in an extremely dependent state. It cannot move on its own, forage for food, or protect itself for the first several years of its life, a period longer than any other primate. If the burden of raising such a child rested solely on the shoulders of two people, the father and the mother, while they still had to gather enough food for the group, perform essential communal tasks, and protect themselves from environmental dangers, that burden would quickly become unbearable. Distributing childcare responsibilities across the entire community was not a romanticized, ideal choice. It was a highly practical survival mechanism. Daily life in a network of care. What does this mean in daily practice? It means that when you, the mother of the child, need to go forage for food in the morning, your baby doesn't have to go with you, nor does it have to sit alone waiting. It stays with its grandmother, its aunt, with other women in the group who aren't joining that day's trip, or with older children who are mature enough to take on the responsibility of watching a younger sibling. It means that a child grows up within a web of relationships consisting of many loving adults, not just within a closed, modern nuclear family unit. And that network leaves a profound imprint on the child's cognitive and emotional development in ways that developmental psychologists today are still uncovering. Discipline. Observation over punishment. Now, let's address what most people are curious about when thinking about ancient child rearing. Discipline. How did they teach their children to behave in a world without schools, parenting books, and timeout corners? The answer, once again, upends almost everything you might be imagining. Anthropological studies of hunter-gatherer communities that survived until recently, including the Hadza in Tanzania and the Aka in the Central African Republic, document a surprising pattern. The level of physical discipline toward children in these societies is typically very low, significantly lower than in many subsequent agricultural and industrial societies. Spanking, yelling, or physical punishment are not the dominant parenting methods in most studied hunter-gatherer groups. Instead, what drives children to learn and behave according to community norms is constant observation. Unlike modern children, who are often segregated from the adult world in schools, daycares, or their own bedrooms, children in hunter-gatherer communities are almost continuously present in adult spaces. They sit nearby when adults craft tools, stand close when adults prepare food, and listen when adults tell stories around the fire. Knowledge and behavior are not transmitted through structured lessons and lengthy moral lectures. They are absorbed through continuous observation, imitation, and practice from a very early age. Anthropologist David Lancy, who has spent decades conducting comparative research on child rearing across different cultures, calls this the learning by observing and pitching in model, contrasting it with the learning by being taught directly, model prevalent in modern industrial societies. In the ancient model, the child is not removed from the real world to sit in an artificial environment and passively receive information. Instead, they participate in the real world from a very young age, first merely observing, then performing small age-appropriate tasks, and gradually taking on larger responsibilities as their bodies and skills develop. A day in the life. Let's recreate a specific day, because abstract concepts rarely convey the true feeling. You are a 5-year-old child living in a band of about 30 people in what might be modern-day East Africa. In the morning, you wake up to the sounds of the group preparing for the day. No one demands that you stay in bed. No one tells you to wait for a fixed breakfast time. You get up when your body is ready and naturally follow whoever you wish to follow that day, perhaps your grandmother going foraging or an older man sitting outside chipping stones. You are not assigned homework. You do not sit at a desk. But before the morning ends, you have learned how to distinguish an edible tuber from a poisonous root by standing still and watching your grandmother do it not once, but 10, 20 times, until the image is etched into your memory, without anyone needing to explain it in words. You have heard about a nearby hill where the group once lost a member to a snake bite, not as a structured safety lesson, but as a story told during a rest stop, in a calm voice, but with enough detail for you to understand where you need to be careful. In the afternoon, you play with the other children in the group. And here is a crucial part, often overlooked when discussing ancient child rearing. Play is never just play. Evolutionary psychologist Peter Gray, in his studies on the role of free play in child development, pointed out that in hunter-gatherer communities, children of various ages often play together in mixed-age groups, rather than being segregated by birth year, as in modern schools. This means the older child naturally learns how to lead, guide, and compromise with the younger one. The younger child learns to observe and imitate the older one, learns to wait, and learns to participate in games more complex than their current abilities, slowly elevating their skills through that process. These games are often miniature simulations of adult activities. Young children pretend to hunt with small sticks. They build miniature huts from branches and leaves. They cook with dirt and water. No one organizes these games for them. No one designs a play-based curriculum. They are spontaneous, and it is precisely that spontaneity that gives them real educational value, a theory that modern developmental psychologists are slowly beginning to recognize once again. The irony of modern parenting. What is the most thought-provoking irony in this entire story? Many of the parenting methods that modern child psychologists have been recommending in recent decades, from involving children in household chores early on, to facilitating unstructured free play with mixed age groups, to reducing adult interference in a child's natural learning process, are actually things your ancestors did completely naturally. Not because they read a parenting book, but because it was the only way they knew how to raise a child in their world. It took us thousands of years, passing through agriculture, urbanization, industrialization, and the standardization of education systems, to separate children from the adult world, lock them into artificial spaces designed exclusively for them, only to slowly realize now that something vital was lost in the process, and to scramble to find ways to bring it back. The child is still crying in the middle of the night. You wake up. But the group no longer wakes up with you. You are raising your child in an apartment, in a city of millions, where you have likely never even spoken to your neighbors. And sometimes, in the middle of the night, when you wake up alone with your crying baby, unsure if you are doing things right or wrong, you feel lonely in a way that language struggles to fully express. That feeling is not a sign of your weakness. It is proof that you were fundamentally designed not to do this alone.